Okay, fam, we did it. We made it to another episode of Zip It Up Pod. Welcome back, y'all. Thank you for joining once again. It has been quite the week for yours truly. Been sick. Well, actually, my house was sick this entire past week, and I was the last one left standing, and I am not standing much longer. I got hit as well with a sick. Oh my goodness, the sickness. I was down with a sickness. Uh, so I'm actually just now getting over it and coming through it. But if I don't sound very familiar to you, that's why. Okay, I'm just now recovering. I'm just now starting to sing along to the radio again. I mean, it's been a couple days. That's a big thing for me. You know, I'm a karaoke guy, and I love my Spotify, and I have not been able to hit those notes yet, but I'm trying. At least I'm giving the effort now. I wasn't giving much of an effort, Sunday night and Monday morning. That's when it was at its peak. But we good now. We can see the other side, and we're fine. Anyway, enough about me. Let's talk NASCAR. How about that F1 race on Sunday from Watkins Glen? Wasn't that amazing? I mean, it truly was very, very much a mirror image of a Formula One race. So, not very thrilled leaving Watkins Glen, but we're going to dive into it. However, I'm going to try and keep this episode really short today. In fact, I might be trying to set a record, just like Hendrick Motorsports set a record on Sunday. More to come about that, but I'm trying to set a record for like my shortest full episode. I've had a bonus episode last year around Easter that I did like 16 minutes. I'm not going to be able to keep it under 16 today. But I think our record is somewhere around 29 or 30 minutes for one of our full episodes where we do a race recap and a race preview. This might be the week. Here's the reasons for that. Number one, not many takeaways coming out of Watkins Glen. That was we saw an F1 race, like I said. So not many NASCAR takeaways coming out of Watkins Glen. Hendrick Motorsports might have just had their worst race of all time. We'll discuss that in a few minutes. We have an all-star race coming up, so, we're only previewing an all-star race. It's not even a points race that's coming up. Another reason to not spend a ton of time on it. And, of course, I am just getting over my sickness, so I know my voice does not sound great, and I have a feeling I can only hang for maybe 20, 25 minutes before I absolutely have no voice again. So we'll try and keep it brief and keep it short for you tonight. We'll see how that goes. But first things first, we're going to get this episode underway with a heartfelt toast tonight. We'll be raising our drinks to one of my instructors at Full Sail. I just graduated in March from Full Sail University, located here in Winter Park, Florida. And I graduated with a bachelor's in their sportscasting program online. And one of my instructors was Jeff Radcliffe. And you have an instructor for a month. So I had 20 something different instructors during my time in the program. And Jeff was one of my instructors that definitely left an impression with me. I believe he had Project and Portfolio 6 was my class with him. And he also was a broadcaster, I believe, on radio for Orlando City. That's our big soccer club here in the MLS. And when Orlando City came to the town years ago in the USL, big hit. Soccer kind of exploded here. But when we went to MLS, we took it to another level. And so Jeff Radcliffe not only was a personal instructor of mine, but I am a OCSC through and through. So if you're familiar with the Orlando City Lions, then you have probably heard some of his calls, whether it be on radio or maybe just some clips. So just a great broadcast personality. Central Florida legend, but this past week passed away, and so we are raising our drinks tonight, and giving this episode out to one of my former instructors, Jeff Radcliffe. Man, rest in peace. Not the most fun way to begin a podcast episode. Felt like I should have felt like that was a respectful thing to do. Feel like a lot of my growth has come from that time that I spent in my program at Full Sail. And it was 2.5 years of intense study of the art of sportscasting. And so each one of those instructors always were able to hone my craft in different ways. I always thought, going into the program, being like Stephen A would be cool. Being like Pat McAfee would be cool. But all the great sportscasters are great because they do it their own way, their own style. And you take different things from different broadcasters and you try to implement them a little bit. And so, it's like building a quarterback, you know, you want to, or build an athlete. You want Kobe Bryant's determination. You want Aaron Rodgers' arm in crunch time. You want Tom Brady leading the troops. And on the road course, you want SVG driving the car. My goodness. So yeah, that was a great segue. Just, that pouch was for Harrison, by the way. I think what I was hinting at is that I'm trying to take what I've learned in my program. So I'm trying to take different things from different broadcasters, that not only in sports, but that you see all over TV. This episode is not going to set a record today. I'm rambling. I wasn't planning on this. But anyway, yeah, I'm trying to take, when I watch TV, I'm trying to take different things from different broadcasters and implement them and put them in my toolbox. And so anywho, we're getting nowhere so far. Golly. All right, let's get on to it. Two things in the NASCAR news department that I wanted to mention. First thing is that it's not really newsworthy, but Hendrick Motorsports has been dropping a few paint schemes this past week. We've been releasing some heat, let me tell you. When you get a chance, go ahead and head over to their social media pages and check out. We have HendrickCars.com released not different paint schemes, 4 new paint schemes, but all for different drivers on different cars with different teams. So Kyle Busch in the Truck Series, Raja Carruth in O'Reilly Series, Corey Day in O'Reilly Series, and then Kyle Larson's Cup car. All going to have a very patriotic look at different races this year. Looks pretty fire. And then we also got a patriotic look from Napa on Chase Elliott's car. I believe that will be raced in the Coke 600 next week. Alex Bowman has the Dragon Allies scheme coming up this week in the All-Star race. Vote Alex into the race. I would love to see him race his way in, but give him your votes. And then William Byron also, just today, dropped a new Exalta scheme. I believe the name of their color of the year is like Solar Boost, and it looks awesome. I think it's one of the hardest schemes I've seen in a while. And we've seen some great schemes, but I love orange. I love it on a car. I miss the Hooters car. I miss the Sun Energy car that Chase Elliott first won in. You see the autograph tonight. Yeah, had to rock this hat coming out of Watkins Glen just to lift the spirits up a little bit. So, anywho, that William Byron scheme, I'm probably overreacting a little bit, but go check it out when you get a chance. I think it looks fire, literally fire. Just like the Dragon Allies scheme. Gosh, I'm getting so carried away tonight. Let's get with it. Okay, second thing newsworthy is that Watkins Glen did announce that they are going to be a race in the Chase next year. And after what I just saw this past week, I am not happy about that at all. Boy, we have had a great, successful history at Watkins Glen until the past 2 seasons. We have just laid some duds out there. And this past week, we're going to talk about in a few minutes, was one of the worst performances I've ever seen from our entire organization as a whole, all in 1 week. I hope we can forget about it, but we can't. We need to learn from it because we will be racing there at a more important and crucial time of year. Next year, it will be a playoff race because it will be in the chase, and you got to bring your A game. So hopefully we have learned what we should not be doing when we return to the Glen. Okay, so one hot topic coming out of Watkins Glen, it's the only takeaway and observation that I really want to chat about before we discuss Hendrick Motorsports the rest of the way on this episode. But SVG continues his road course dominance, kind of as expected. I was really happy back at COTA when he finished second to Tyler Reddick. And that actually ended his 5 road course race win streak that he was on. You know, Jeff Gordon has the record at 6. I did not want to see anybody's name associated with that record. Now, SVG, there might come a day where he does it again. He might start building that win streak now. Hopefully not. But he is he's certainly on his way to being the road course GOAT. However, I'm not coming on this pod and saying that yet. The guy pictured behind me is still the road course GOAT. If something tragically were to happen to SVG right now, I pray to God that doesn't happen. Or if he were to just decide he was done. Or if all of these other drivers just miraculously got better, which I don't see happening. Let's say his winning took a dip at the road courses somehow, some way. I don't know. Where he's at right now does not make him the GOAT. Jeff Gordon would still have the records. He's still got the 9 all-time road course wins. SVG right now is at 7. So he's well on his way, like I said. That's going to be the common theme here, by the way, as I'm making my points. Jeff Gordon, I believe, has the better winning percentage at road courses because, I mean, Jeff was only doing 2 a year. SVG is now doing 5. A couple years ago, it was 6 road courses in a season. So SVG has a lot more opportunities to boost these stats. I don't hold that against him. But according to Jordan Bianchi on the teardown this week, Jeff Gordon still has a better winning percentage than SVG. Can't imagine that's going to last much longer. And I would like to know what that win percentage is because it seems like SVG is winning every time that they're on a track that goes right and left-handed turns. And also Jeff Gordon does have that win streak of 6 in a row. SVG only 5. So, you know, a lot of these records still belong to Jeff Gordon. And, you know, according to the eye test, we can all see it. He's headed towards being the GOAT in the road courses, but he's not there yet. His trajectory is headed there, though. There's no denying it. I know that there's going to come a day where I have to admit that he is the GOAT, but today is not that day. So I ain't going to do it. I ain't going to say it. Jeff's the GOAT. Always and forever. Okay, that's all the time I want to spend on that. Now it's time to talk about things that are less pleasing to the eye this past week, and that is Hendrick Motorsports. I'm going to go through and just give their individual race analysis from this past week and let you decide if this was the worst Hendrick Motorsports performance in one single weekend of all time or not. Let's begin with Kyle Larson because he was our best finisher. And he started 23rd. Larson didn't score any stage points, and then he finished 23rd. Chase Elliott started 27th. Didn't score any stage points, and he finished 24th. Alex Bowman started 28th. Didn't score any stage points. He finished 25th. And then William Byron started 13th. Did not score any stage points. And he finished 36th, 3 laps down. Still beat Joey Logano. Anywho, after hearing that, was this the worst Hendrick Motorsports race of all time? Because, boy, we can make an argument. We can debate it. And I'm not going to bring up any other recollection. You know, I've only been a NASCAR fan 25, 30 years or so. So that's all the history I have. The organization's been around 42, 43-ish years now, and a lot of that time has been spent with Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson. So we were winning a lot, mainly because of those two guys. However, we have a great roster right now driving for Hendrick Motorsports. And yes, it's been a tough year. We got 2 wins to our name. We're coming off a championship. This team, this organization is very much alive. We are what every other NASCAR team and organization aspire to be. There's no doubt about it. But this was, I believe, the worst weekend we have ever had as an organization in the 40-something years. Again, I can't go back to the beginning, but I'm pretty sure as a 4-car team, this is it. Okay? Not a single car qualified in the top 10 this past week. Not a single stage point was scored by any of our drivers this past week. Not a single car finished in the top 20. If you remember back like a year or two, we were on a long streak of having cars finish like in the top 10 and top 5. The top 20 streak was very strong. That is not the case right now. Yeah, Larson finishing 23rd was our best result at Watkins Glen. And I think he was like 40-something seconds behind the winner. Now, this past week, we also had a combined 40 points scored by our drivers. And I think that comes off the mouth and into the ears. You're like, oh, 40 points. That's cool. That's the entire team. 40 points. 4 different drivers that should be chase contenders, and at least 3 of them should be contending for a championship. 40 points is 10 points per car on average. That's what we scored this past week. If you go back to last week when Chase Elliott won, he scored 69 points by himself. He scored 69 out of 138 points that we scored last week. The organization at Texas, I didn't feel was great, but Chase had a really good run. I guess he saved face for us. He scored 69 points alone. The other 3 scored 69 combined last week at Texas. This week, all 4 of the drivers together accumulated only 40 points. That's bad. That's bad. The brightest spot of the weekend, I believe, was William Byron being 8th fastest in practice. And that's because he was ahead of SVG. He was ahead of Michael McDowell. He was ahead of Connor Zilic, all in practice. And he was faster than Austin Dillon in practice, who ultimately ran 6th on Sunday, deserved a top 5. Crazy run from AD. This is not at all an RCR or Austin Dillon podcast. But dude actually showed up on the road course. Happy for him and that team. But man, this was just an abysmal performance by Hendrick Motorsports at a track that is going to have a ton of importance next season. No, I'm starting to get that sense that I'm like a voice in the podcasting world for Hendrick Motorsports. And I'm just going to tell it like it is. I'm a fan first. And I'm glad it's over. But it's hard to look back on and be proud of anything we did this past week. And I know that organization, all the people in it, probably feel much the same way that us, the fans, do. And I'm sure that they're doing a lot of reflecting on what happened this past week, and hopefully it never happens again, but just can't ignore it. Because we got to use it to our advantage. We got to get better from it. It's like watching a really bad team tank for a number 1 pick. I feel like we just saw a really, really bad performance. Felt like a whole season's worth of bad happened in one race. Now it's time to capitalize and learn from it and move forward and better ourselves. And I know that analogy wasn't great, but I mean, my goodness, it can't get much worse than what we saw at Watkins Glen. So I would expect, even though it's not a points race at Dover, I would expect a much better performance this week. This is a track that we are historically good at, of course, so we'll see. But before I get into our Dover and All-Star Race preview, let me also mention Saturday, Corey Day. He started 27th. He didn't score any stage points. He ultimately finished 15th. Maybe we should have seen it coming, okay, by Corey's performance, because he's been a lot better than that this year. And that was a really bad result for that team. They dropped in the standings. So, maybe he also caught the Hendrick Motorsports bug. It's just all around really bad at Watkins Glen for Hendrick Motorsports. And so we're going to leave it at that, and we're going to move on. All right. As I mentioned, Corey Day fell one spot in the point standings for the O'Reilly series. So he's now fifth in the standings. He's minus 218 to the points leader, which is still Justin Allgaier. Now let's look at our Cup drivers in the points. Right now, Chase Elliott is third, still in a good spot. He's minus 145. Kyle Larson is eighth in the points. He's minus 235. And William Byron is 12th in the points, minus 258. They're all still trailing and chasing Tyler Reddick, leading the point standings. Alex Bowman did not change in the points. He is still 34th as he was last week. He's minus 440 points to the points leader. But what we're watching is his points deficit to 16th, that final chase spot. And right now he's minus 156 to that. So that grew quite a bit this past week. Last week, coming out of Texas, we did the math, and we determined that Bowman would need to make up 8.5 points per week in order to get to that 16th and final spot. Well, he had such a bad week at Watkins Glen. That number now is he needs to make up 11 points per race in order to get to that 16th chase spot. And there are some guys on the outside looking in as well. Some notable names that he's going to have to pass to get into the chase, assuming that they don't pass anyone, drop out, back and forth. That's how the ladder works. But he still has Briscoe, Logano, and Chastain that are outside the chase currently. So, if we expect a lot from those guys, we would expect them to possibly get in. Bowman has really got his work cut out for him. But we'll be watching. 11 points per race is the number right now. Okay. So let's do our preview for Dover and All-Star Race weekend. I'm going to give you a statistical preview for both Dover and for the All-Star Race, since I think this is the first time the All-Star Race has been run at Dover. First time in my memory, no doubt. But let's start with Kyle Larson. In the All-Star Race, he's got 9 starts. He also has 3 wins in the All-Star Race, though. He's one of only 4 drivers that has 3 or more All-Star wins. The other 3 are Jimmy, who has 4 wins. Jeff has 3, and then Dale Sr. has 3. So Larson is in great company right there. In his 9 starts, though, he's got 5 top 5s, 6 top 10s. He's led 244 laps, and his average finishes an 8.56. Chase Elliott has 10 starts in the All-Star Race. He's got the 1 win. He's got 5 top 5s, 8 top 10s, 74 laps led, and an average finish of 7.7. William Byron has 7 All-Star Race starts, which include no wins and no top 5s. He does have 3 top 10s. He's never led a lap in an All-Star Race, and his average finish is 7.25. And then Alex Bowman has 6 starts in the All-Star Race, no wins. He's got 1 top 5, 5 top 10s, and he's led 12 laps in the All-Star Race. His average finish is 8.83. All right, so that's All-Star stats. Now let me give you the Dover stats. Larson has 17 Dover starts, and that includes 1 win, 1 pole, 9 top 5s, 13 top 10s. He's led 938 laps, and his average finish at Dover is 7.9. Chase Elliott has 15 starts at Dover. That includes 2 wins, 1 pole, 10 top fives, 11 top tens. He's led 632 laps, and his average finish is 9.3. William Byron has 11 starts at Dover, which includes no wins, no poles. He's got 3 top fives, 4 top tens. He's led 257 laps, and his average finish is 16.4. And then Alex Bowman has 14 starts at Dover, which include 1 win, no poles, 6 top fives, 7 top tens, 143 laps led, and an average finish of 16.1. And Bowman has to advance into the main event on Sunday. So he can either advance by winning or he can advance by the fan vote. And I think he's got a chance at the fan vote. We've seen the top 5 were released. I believe Zilich is going to be tough to beat in the fan vote, but I also think he'll be pretty good on track. Noah Gragson will be tough to beat in the fan vote. And I know Chris Buescher is one of those guys that I think Bowman can beat in the fan vote. But, I mean, could see that going either way. I'm not sure which driver's more popular. And I forget the 5th and final driver that is going for the fan vote. But Bowman, I think, not because of his individual popularity, but because of Hendrick Motorsports fans, really rally the troops. I mean, if there's there really is a difference in the fans toward an organization when you look at the rest of the NASCAR teams. I think second most fans or most loyal fans probably belong to Penske, and then Gibbs is probably underneath that. As for like, you know, how do I say this? Maybe I should have wrote this down, but when it comes to like rooting for an organization, I think Hendrick Motorsports is number 1, and that might be the key to get Bowman the fan vote. If he was with any other team, I don't think he stands a chance to win the fan vote. So, Hendrick Motorsports fans, we're going to do our job this week. We'll give him the votes, but we would much rather see him race his way in. Which brings me to making predictions, talking about the betting odds for the All-Star race this weekend. Here we are, not setting the record. Doggone it. Sorry, y'all. I am close to the end, though. I can feel my voice going. So, let me give you the betting odds real quick and then tell you how I think this week is going to go with my predictions. The favorite to win the race at Dover, the All-Star race, is Denny Hamlin. He's plus 400. And then we got Kyle Larson is plus 600 to win. Chase Elliott's plus 700 to win. William Byron is plus 1,400. And then Alex Bowman is plus 1,600 to win. Some notable names, Ryan Blaney is plus 850. He's the highest forward. Tyler Reddick, who has a lot of wins this season, is plus 1,200. And then Carson Hocevar just won his way into this race. He is plus 2,500 to win the All-Star race. So, with that being said, I think the All-Star race is really good at making storylines, and I think that that's what's going to happen this week. I don't think the drivers are very enthused about racing for only $1 million at a kind of a boring track at 1:00 on a Sunday afternoon. Just nothing really exciting about that. So I kind of feel like something extraordinary is going to happen. Like an odd winner or something we didn't see coming, or something that's at least going to make storylines. So I kind of think maybe Bowman wins after advancing into the main event. Definitely stands a shot. I think his toughest race might be getting into the main event, because those guys he's going to be racing around want it a little bit more than the guys that are probably already locked in. So I want to say if Bowman advances, then I'll pick him. But my Hendrick pick has to be one of the guys that's already locked in, and I would bet on Kyle Larson. This would make a storyline because he's in a winless drought. It's been a year now that he has not won a single race in the Cup Series. So it would be interesting to see if they can maybe break that streak Wouldn't really count because it's the All-Star race. It's not a points race, but it would be a win. It'd be a checkered flag for that team, which is badly needed right now, and because they are in quite a bit of a slump. Um, so kind of see the All-Star race being a way for the 5 team to get back on track where they were about a month ago, delivering good results. So that's who I'm locking my Hendrick pick on. Okay. My non-Hendrick pick could go many different routes here. But I'm going to land on Christopher Bell going back to back in the All-Star race. Now, Bell is plus 800 to win. So it wouldn't be like a super out of the blue kind of win. 20 team, you kind of think Christopher Bell he's going to win races. And he's had a down year as well. They haven't quite performed and definitely haven't got the results that they deserve. But this would also be a way to get them back on track. And then my long shot pick for the week will be Connor Zilisch plus 15,000 to win this All-Star race. I think he's going to get in one way or another. I don't think they're going to leave the phenom out of the All-Star race. They'll figure out a way to get him in, whether he races in or they give the vote to him. You know how that goes. So that'd be fun. Seeing another driver win an All-Star race before they win a points race, which I think has happened. I don't know for sure, but I think it's happened. So, man, I probably should have checked that stat before I brought it up, but it would be cool to see Connor Zilisch win the All-Star race this week. He's not a Hendrick guy, but he is a JRM guy, so would be all right with it. Get the Chevy in victory lane. That'd be back-to-back weeks for Trackhouse on a down year for them. Definitely would create a lot of storylines seeing him win a race in the Cup Series, whether it's paying out points or not, which they need the points. But I'm sure that they'll take this one if they can get it. So I just feel like, some of these teams that are a little bit down right now are going to be trying a little bit more than I'm not saying Hamlin's not going to be competitive, but I don't think he really cares to go out there and win this All-Star event this week, Blaney and drivers such as that, drivers that are up there like Reddick. I don't think he's got a great history at Dover, so this is probably a week that they're just kind of looking past and they're looking forward to the 600. I think a lot of teams are probably doing that, and we might have a surprise winner this week. So calling my shot right here on the Zip It Up pod. And that's all I got for you, though. I do need to give you the schedule, which I did not jot down. So if you give me just a second, I'm opening the NASCAR app, and I'll let you know who's driving at what time this week. But it begins with the Truck Series. That is not an all-star race. They will be racing just a normal points paying truck race. That'll be Friday at 5 o'clock on FS1. The O'Reilly Series is also got a points paying race that will be on Saturday at 4 o'clock on the CW. And then the main event, the All-Star race, begins on Sunday, 1 o'clock for the Cup Series. That will be on FS1 as well. And I'm sure that there will be a lot of coverage of practice sessions and qualifying and all that. Probably some heats. They change the rules up with the All-Star race every year and all that. So I'm not quite sure what format they're going with this year, but we know we got 3 drivers locked in and could potentially have all 4 of them racing for $1 million. And it'd be a great way to rebound from a terrible performance at Watkins Glen. I said I wasn't going to mention that again, but that's how we're closing out this episode, y'all. I do appreciate you listening, and I'm sorry if I do sound a little nasally. I'm excited to have made it to the end of this episode. I feel great. I just don't sound good. And hopefully that will change before next week's episode. But hey, y'all have yourselves a good weekend. And hopefully we don't have to come back here and rip up our favorite team next week. All right. Y'all be safe, and I'll see you.